Good morning and welcome to today's webinar from Arum. My name's Mark Buckley and I'll be your host today. This webinar is titled How do your digital and voice collection strategies stack up against your peers? I'll now hand you across to today's presenters, Russell Robinson from Arum and Jaco Snyman from Sigma Connected. Gentlemen, over to you.
Thanks very much, Mark. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining this presentation where we can walk through some, to give you a little bit of background, walk you through some survey results from some work that we've been doing with Sigma. We've gone out to the market across different continents. We've had about 30 plus different responses from our survey around integrating digital and voice interactions for collections. We're going to walk you through a snippet of some of the results, but then later on you'll get in the presentation we'll show you how to get access to the full report and potentially participate. To give you a little bit of background on Arum, so we're collections and revenue experts. We work with our clients to prevent and resolve problem debt with their customers. Arum's been helping organizations for 23 years across 20 global territories. We provide fiercely independent advice, so we work with a number of clients and we work with a number of vendors and technology providers in the market that are a fit for the particular engagement that we're working on. Personally, I've been working in digital transformation now for 20 years. I joined Arum a year ago to head up the digital practice. I was co-founder of a company called Telrock and ran that business for 15 years. After that, I was the EMEA director for the digital business at an organization called FICO for 4 years. I'll pass you over to Jaco for your introduction.
Thank you, Russell. Good morning, everybody. I'm Jaco Snyman. I'm the Managing Director of McLaren Credit Services. That's our standalone DCA within the Sigma Connected group. Sigma Connected is a provider of outsourced contact center services, business process outsourcing, training, and consulting services, as well as DCA services. I think we've experienced tremendous growth in the last 4 years in particular, and we continue to expand our reach across territories and industries. I think our expertise cover the whole customer life cycle, from customer acquisition to customer service to collections to specialized vulnerability customer support services, in particular our reach out product, as well as DCA services. We've got over 4,000 employees across the UK, South Africa and Australia, and we service our UK clients seamlessly, either from the UK, from our Birmingham or Redditch offices, full working from home solutions, or blended across the UK and offshore locations. We also do offshore for customer service and collections at scale for UK FCA regulated entities. I think with Sigma, I think we truly believe that people connect with people, so that forms the cornerstone of our engagements with clients, customers, and also internally with colleagues. In terms of myself, I've been in the financial services industry in particular for over 20 years with deep specialist knowledge of retail banking and consumer finance in particular. I think before joining Sigma, I was Chief Operating Officer, as well as then transitioning into Chief Transformation Officer for BNP Paribas Personal Finance in the UK. And I've got a real passion for digital transformation, but with a human touch.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jaco. I'll move to full screen now so we can share the content. To give you, to kick off and really give you an overview of one of the data points that came through. So in the survey, we asked just under 20 questions of different topics across digital and integration of digital with human operations and customer treatments, customer preferences. The list goes on. One of the questions we asked was around, do you capture the customer's communication and channel preferences? And 69% of the respondents, so you've got 20 plus organizations, came back and said, we do capture customer communication channel preferences, and that can clearly be stated. So, you know, in relation to GDPR and other requirements, where a customer will actually state that they would like communication over SMS or via post or a phone call, and then, you know, being able to utilize that in the communication strategy. But then there's also, which is a huge topic and many organizations working on it in different ways, but then the inferred communication and channel preferences. So that could include things like the type of words that people respond to, the type of tonality in communications. It could be the options that provoke a response, elicit a response from someone. So it may be that someone will respond to a message that talks about payment options and help around their financial difficulties, as opposed to other communications that may talk about next steps and be a little bit harsher in its approach. Also, actual channels that you use as well. So the modality of the channel, whether it be an SMS or a WhatsApp message or an app push message, and the list goes on that front. And then again, there is timing. So it may be that based on certain work hours, it could be based on other movements that particular customer has, that it may be that they respond at certain times of the day. When we look at analytics with our clients and various engagements we work on, you know, the number of customers that might be responding in the early hours of the morning, they might be responding on a Saturday morning, are different to what you might see from a normal call center kind of working hour structure. What we do see where organizations are working really well in this area is, I'll give you a few examples of, you know, one organization where they had a lot of outbound contact, but when they actually looked at the data sets of how their customers were interacting and what you call kind of self-cure, you know, there were a number of different customer segments where they didn't need any contact at all, or they didn't need an outbound dial, they didn't need the number of SMSs that were being sent out to them over a period of time for them to cure the account. They just needed singular messages which stated certain things about their account status, giving them the right options to be able to respond and make the payment in a simple way, and those customers would self-cure quickly. And we've seen some significant reduction in outbound contact attempts through that, in essence, a really simple method of analyzing which customers are self-curing and don't need that outbound contact. In addition, you know, as opposed to looking at kind of digital first, and in some cases organizations are pushing it a bit too hard, but you've got, you know, a number of people in the customer group, you know, may have some form of digital access issue. It may be that it's more appropriate, or their preference to communicate with a human, and that can also be seen in inferred preferences. So it may be that they haven't interacted on digital channels for the lifetime of the account, or maybe only a few times have they accessed online banking, for example. So it's, you know, organizations, and we've seen a few that do this quite well, where they will use that knowledge and they will promote voice-based communications and options that they can get by calling in over the digital options that would normally kind of be prominent on the outbound communications. An organisation has made some good progress with their mobile app customer contact preferences as well. So whilst they were fairly heavy mobile app users, you couldn't rely on the outbound app notification to elicit a response from them. Whilst the app notifications were going out, those customers that were on the mobile banking app just simply weren't engaging with the app to go in and make a payment and get their account in order. So other methods were used with those specific customer segments, where they would receive an SMS which would give them a deep link and take them into the mobile app. The hypothesis is that those customers have suppressed their notifications, whether it be the notification on their screen when it's in lock mode, or it might be the little red dot on the app. Some people take those off for their mental health. I know that I've reduced a lot of the notifications on my phone, to the anger of my friends and families. But there are many different ways of using data of the customer account, of the history of the account, and how they communicate to then really improve the way that customers can interact with both human and digital channels. One organisation we've seen with 65 different types of customer journeys based on the stage of debt. Not only has the 65 different journeys, they also have variants of those journeys. So it may be that there's a chatbot journey for when you're in early arrears and you're a certain risk type, but then they've implemented many variants of that chatbot journey to help get the right response from customers when they're in that particular part of the life cycle of collections. Moving on to choosing voice or digital. When you look at automation or best suited to interaction, over on the left, organizations responded back, and we've in the final report that we produce, which is in draft mode at the moment, there's various graphs and images around the different data points that we've got, and one of them is showing where organizations have responded back and stated what are the most likely processes that they would automate. The leaders in that area, as you would expect, no surprise, taking payments. I think from a payments perspective, we've seen a lot of development in this area around automation, whether it be continuous payment authority, so providing your card details and giving authorization for that to be a repeat payment, tokenization and linking the tokenization of card details to other channels as well. So it may be that I've gone online and I've made a payment for my initial payment installment. I then have provided my card details for doing that. The next installment that's due, because my preference is not to go on continuous payment authority, because I need a bit more control over my finances, I receive an SMS telling me my second installment is due, and I simply reply to that SMS to make the payment. So it stopped me from having to manually call back in and kind of give those payment details. There's generic services that are provided by third-party browsers, right? You've got browser pre-fill, which makes it very easy to go and pay online with your Apple ID or otherwise, and select which cards you would like to pay from. Organizations are starting from a collections perspective to implement Apple and some Samsung Pay. We're seeing some growth in that area, and then to the direct debit payment method. A lot of organizations will push hard to get customers onto direct debit. It's a a very good way for customers to be able to manage their finances, right? Because you've got the automated payment that comes out each month. I've seen some organizations add some flexibility to that as well, so you can receive communications about the direct debit that is going to come out, and you've got the ability to move the direct debit to different dates if you need to, that link more closely to when you receive your employment income or benefits income. So some good developments in the direct debit and automated bank transfer payment arena, and we've seen that in different countries. And open banking is getting more and more traction. Certainly from one organisation, they've now moved about 30% of their typical debit card payments for customers in arrears across to open banking. So the customer may receive an SMS, or it may be a QR code. They hit that link, they're taken straight to their typical mobile banking login, where they complete their regular authentication, and pre-populated are the payee details and the amount they need to pay, and they just hit a button to make the payment. So some interesting stuff going on there. From a customer perspective, there is the challenge of are open banking payments significantly different to making a card payment through browser pre-fill? There's a question mark there, but certainly from a creditor perspective, the costs of processing payments, you take out all the merchant acquirer fees, and then you also have more accuracy around the payment reconciliation as well. So you're not dealing with the manual entry of customers putting in their reference numbers. Affordability and payment plans. We're seeing organizations continue to develop in automating affordability and plans. Some organizations still have those two processes separate, where there might be some automation on affordability through digital web forms, in some cases with open banking or CRA data. But then if you've created or you've understood your disposable income, you still need to go and set up a plan via another process. And with evolved organizations, we're seeing the linking of the disposable income going straight to presenting some payment plan options to the customer. You'll see kind of affordability and payment plans on both sides. It was because we had about 50-50 response rate in terms of what you're most likely to automate and what do you think is best suited to agent interaction. And I love that, because it goes with our thoughts, which are, it isn't all voice, or it isn't all digital. The best customer journeys are really ones that are designed for all different types of customers. And there is definitely a demand for people to talk about their affordability over the phone with a human and have help going through that process and be able to talk through their payment plan options when they're in difficult situations. There's also customers over to the left that may prefer not to speak to a human and may prefer to share that type of information over a front end. We've got one organization that we're working with at the moment, where they're looking into ways where they can anonymize the front end process, where customers will go in and put in some affordability information and look at their plan options without having to share any personal information. And I think that's really great from the anonymity perspective and helping customers engage that may be embarrassed or otherwise to do so. Jaco, I'm going to hand over to you now.
Thank you, Russell. I think there was a number of questions that centered around the integration of voice and digital, and some interesting observations and themes emerged from that. More than 2/3 of respondents encourage customers to speak to an agent while interacting with the digital channel, which I think it's positive, and it shows good intent across the board. I think, practically speaking, what we've certainly seen in terms of some of the clients that we deal with, that process to hand off to customers from digital to agents, so that the agents have the right context, can sometimes be prone to integration issues. Typically, digital interactions are, for most companies, still batched into core CRM systems, and sometimes can be up to 24 hours. So that seamless transition from a customer perspective, from talking to a digital or going through a digital channel and then being handed off to an agent that sometimes doesn't have the context, is still a problem for most companies to solve because of that batch processing. And then also many chat systems can often go very quickly to human teams, and then overload the agent teams because of the design of that, specifically linked to outbound campaigns. I think what we've noticed also is that workforce planning technology also is still catching up in terms of really planning for that almost digital to analog transition to an agent. That's the one. I think where we've seen, I think it's not a either or. I think we've seen certainly some of our clients have acknowledged the fact that handover can sometimes be problematic, and we've got a number of clients that do that through a ticketing system, just to make sure that you give the customer the certainty that the issue is being dealt with, even if it's a callback later, which is not ideal in terms of a digital journey. It at least closes the gap, where very often in these journeys we find that you just drop off or you just don't get the service, and that's obviously not ideal. It is, I mean, as Russell said earlier, I think it's absolutely imperative that the digital comms offer customers human support, and specifically that digital does not exclude them from getting the right outcomes. And I think if you look at the pandemic as a whole, it's actually quite a good testing ground for the readiness of the switch between digital and analog, and sort of dealing with sometimes very new customer demands in mass very quickly. What we certainly found is that our clients that were well advanced on the digital journeys could use those digital channels to communicate to customers really quickly and implement some basic digital solutions quickly. But I think those that had resource flexibility to support that weathered the storm much better. And I think ultimately, resource flexibility might include multi-location sites with different recruitment dynamics, full working from home, strategic outsource partners, the likes, to help you manage those peaks and troughs. But ultimately, you need to be able to respond appropriately with a human touch on the back of any digital comms where appropriate. What was interesting, even though a lot of customers encourage the handoff from a digital to an agent channel quite seamlessly, only 20% allowed customers to shift to a voice channel. So an example that I can use there, very often the tools available to customers for self-serve is not available to agents to be able to do first-time call resolution while they're talking to somebody. Examples include a customer being pressed for time and just wanting to receive the confirmation, whether it's a pay by link or a SMS with a redirect to an OAM, online account management. Apologies, just switched off there, or whether it's just a redirect to another self-help tool. And then lastly, I think what was quite interesting, which is it's sort of contradictory to Russell's earlier point, that the majority want to automate at least the payment journeys, only 60%. that do use a mobile app had tailored collections journeys. And that, I suppose, what we're seeing on the back end of that is really almost two broad categories. It is those app-first organizations that use the app as a primary onboarding tool, where it's digital first by design. They normally incorporate that relatively well, but sometimes the handover from digital to person is not often that easy and not resourced appropriately. And then those where the app was later added in the digital roadmap sometimes have often a very slower uptake of app adoption, or for older customers, which means that the commercial rationale to invest and to really do those tailored collection journeys might not be there. And then the last point, which is an overall theme, is in general, most of the respondents seem to steer customers through predetermined collection strategies and don't really use past customer behavior to tailor that communication strategy. So, Russell, over to you.
All right, thanks, Jaco. So really good points there, and like you say, we get different responses from different customer groups, different industries, and it's interesting to see some of the contradictions that come out even in the same organization, where they really have a drive to move into a certain direction, but the actual journeys and the way that the systems are working with the operations just aren't exhibiting that, and they're still early on the journey in developing that out. So we've given a few data points here. I think what we'd like to do is give you the option to participate in the survey. We're keeping it open for a few more days, and we're going to be sending out this link after the webinar, so you can hit the link. It should take you probably 10 or 15 minutes to complete the survey. You can contact me directly if you've got any questions, but once you've completed the survey and our report is complete, which we're expecting to do in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be sending that out to you. So that will be in the form of probably about a 20-page report, which will have all the output from the survey, and also commentary around different topics that are within the report. So free report, 10 minutes of your time. Please get involved, because the more responses we get, the better the quality of the output. And as I said, we've got 30 organizations so far. We've got a few questions that have come in. I think we'll probably run out of time to answer all of those. I'll give a stab at one of them now. So we've got one question, which is for mobile app journeys. What organizations, what can they do to secure the investment, bearing in mind that their customer services roadmap might be taking up the majority of the development? I think organizations that are struggling to get collection journeys into their mobile app really need to focus on impairment benefits. In many cases, certainly from a financial services organization, the business case benefits around reducing impairment can be significant through digital development. And I also think ring fencing a team off the back of that business case, so they can develop for the collections team, work on the app is required to get the type of capability that's required. I think we'll circulate the other questions. Otherwise, we'll run out of time. Mark, over to you.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Jaco. Yes, just to confirm, we can provide the answers to any questions that have been submitted along with the webinar afterwards. So please keep submitting them if you have any. Because we are short of time, I am going to draw this to a close. So I'd like to thank both Jaco and Russell very much for their time today. I'd like to remind everyone that this webinar will be listed on our website from tomorrow if you'd like to listen again, or to recommend it to any colleagues who couldn't make it today. Also, just before you go, we'd appreciate it if you could take a few seconds to give a little bit of feedback in the relevant area provided. Once again, thank you all for your time today, and goodbye.